Hello everyone, Mrs. Below here. In this video, I'm going to be going over how to do the first page, specifically how to complete this table for the cell size lab. So as we've talked about, cells come in many shapes and sizes. Remember, that does tie directly to a cell's function. Structure is directly tied to function. However, for the purpose of this lab, we're going to be focusing on cells that would be cubed shape. There are cells in the body that are cubed shaped. They are called cuboidal cells, and these are found in cells in body glands. So there are cubed shaped cells. And we're going to be exploring the relationship between surface area and volume. And we're specifically going to be looking at the ratio between those two. And we're going to try to figure out, is it better for cells to be large or small? So I want you to make a prediction. So go ahead and answer that prediction here. So you're going to circle, do you think it's better for cells to be big? Or is it better for cells to be small? So go ahead and answer that question. In this table below, we're going to be figuring out the surface area to volume ratio for various size cells. And you're going to be using these two equations here. So you'll notice that L, W, and H. L is the length, W is the width, and H is the height. If we're again talking about a cubed shaped cell. Now, since these are cubed shaped, the length, width, and height will be the same for all of these, okay? However, when we do other practice problems moving forward, the length, width, and height may vary and will not always be the same. However, for this lab, we have these cubed shaped cells of various sizes from small to large. And we're going to calculate the surface area to volume ratio. And then tomorrow in class, we're going to discuss that data and try to determine what is the best size for a cell in terms of that surface area to volume relationship. So I'm going to walk through the example problem, okay? Note that this cell is not a cube. This is just an example problem, okay? So I'm going to do some highlighting so you can see how I plug things into the equation. So if you have your length here, okay, which again for cell A through E, your length, width, and height will be the same. I'm just using this one as an example. You're going to plug that in to the equation, okay? So you can see where I plugged in 1 here, okay? And then you can also see where I plugged in the width, okay, which is, for this example, 2. And then you can also see where I plugged in the height, which in this case is 3. And then I did my calculations. So for this equation here, you're basically multiplying every variation together, okay? So the length times the width times the height, and the length times the height. So you're going to multiply those first, then you're going to add them, okay? So in this case, this was 2 plus 6 plus 3, which is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, okay? So this was 11, and then the last thing you do is you're going to notice there's a 2 on the outside. You're going to multiply that number by 2. So 2 times 11 is 22. And notice for the units, it is millimeters squared because we're talking about surface area. Volume is very easy. It's just the length times the width times the height, which would be 6. So basically, we're just plugging into this equation to get our surface area, into both these equations to get our surface area and volume. The last part that's kind of tricky is figuring out the ratio, okay? So you're going to write it the surface area to volume ratio, okay? So again, we got our surface area, which was 22, and then we got our volume, which was 6. So it'd be 22 to 6. Now to simplify that, we're going to do 22 divided by 6, which is 3.67, and then for our final answer, we would write 3.67 to 1. So when we're talking about the surface area to volume ratio, there's about 3.5 times the surface area in comparison to the volume. So I'm going to get you started with cell A. So here is cell A. The length, width, and height will be 0.5 millimeters. Technically, it should be in micrometers because we're talking about cells, which is really small. But let's say, just for the purposes of this lab, we're going to say millimeters. So for cell A, again, if we're finding the surface area, okay, we're going to do 2 times. Now, again, our length, width, and height for all of these is going to be the same. So 0.5 times 0.5. Let's give myself a little bit more space. Okay, so our surface area is going to be 0.5 times 0.5 plus 0.5 times 0.5 plus 0.5 times 0.5. Okay. So if we do 0.5 times 0.5, we're going to get 0.25. So 0.25 plus 0.25 plus 0.25. So this would be 2 times 0.75. Okay, so again, I'm gonna do this times 3. So 1.5. So this is our surface area. So for our surface area, it would be 1.52. And then for the volume, we would do 0.5 times 0.5 times 0.5. So 0.5 times 0.5 times 0.5 is going to give us 0.125. So 0.125. So that's our surface area to volume ratio. Again, for these cells, because they are cubes, the length, width, and height are all the same. In the future, that won't always be the case. So now I'm going to do 1.5 divided by 0.125, which is 12. So I did 1.5 divided by 0.125, and we got 12. So for my final answer, the ratio would be 12 to 1. So so we have 12 times the amount of surface area in comparison to the volume for cell A. So you're going to continue and do the same thing for B, C, D, and E. Don't just write the answers in the boxes here. Actually show all of your work. In terms of showing work, this would be sufficient. You don't have to show all these steps right here. I really just want to see how did you plug everything into the problem. So you just have to do the first page here, and then tomorrow in class we'll discuss these questions.